I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and it is Tuesday night, so it is time for my weekly online class to go. So if you're new to my Facebook page or YouTube channel, welcome. Each week on Tuesday nights I do a live video. We make 3 cards, and for anyone who places an order in my online store of $75 or more before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards redemption, by the end of Saturday night I will send you the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards from this week's class. Most weeks I use a featured bundle, so a Stampin' Die or Stampin' Punch bundle, and you'll receive all the cardstock designer series paper and ribbon or twine, any die cuts that are not part of the featured bundle. The die cuts that are part of the featured bundle, you need to cut those yourselves, but I will give you the cardstock or designer series paper for that. This week, however, I am doing something a little bit different. So a few weeks back I did I changed up a bit again and did the Berry Botanical Vellum as the featured product. This week I am using the Artisan Sketch Garden Designer Series paper. So the paper is the featured product this week, so any and all dies that are used in these cards are included. The only thing that isn't, you will get the images. I'm not doing the fussy cutting, you're doing the fussy cutting. But let me switch my camera around. So these are the 3 cards for this week. So the designer series paper, the featured paper, I did have it out. It is a set of all black and white pieces. So you've got some that is sort of fairly sort of neutral designs, spot stripes, you can use with anything. And then you've also got, and I've got bits and pieces going everywhere because I've been cutting it up. You've got lots of floral images. These ones are the ones that I have fussy cut for the cards, and there's a few others. So you've got some black and white ones. Let me pull a bit more out so you can see a bit better. So you've got, this is really good for colouring too. So you can leave the images as they are, or you can colour them in. So I have coloured the fussy cut ones. The rest I have left as it is. Let me just get all this out of the way. So one more little scrap piece hiding. All right, so to start with, we will start with this one, which is in Strawberry Slush. So Strawberry Slush card base for this one, and then we have some basic black, some of the paper, insert for later. Let me tip all my pieces out. I have fussy cut my image, so you don't have to sit and watch me fussy cutting. There's some other some Strawberry Slush designer series paper there, and let me get out my image, so we will color that one in. So I've used Stampin' Blends for the colouring for all of these, but you could use watercolour pencils, you could use the ink pads plus blending brushes, the pastels, whatever you prefer. You don't have to use blends. So let's put those bits to the side. We'll stick these first couple of pieces down. clear a bit of space. Alrighty. So thin border around the edges on this one, on the basic black. Let's just adjust that. That looks alright. And there's no ribbon on this one, so this can go straight down. The other thing that I always keep forgetting to mention with the class, so for anyone who places an order to get the kits, you do also get the PDF tutorials as well. So you get written tutorials with all the products used, the measurements, photos and written instructions. So that is also included with the class kits. Alrighty, so that it is done. Let's move that to the side for the moment, and we'll do the sentiment piece. So just some basic white, and I'm going to stamp in strawberry slush. And where is my, there it is. So I'm going anniversary one for this card. So we want the sentiment, we want to allow enough space at the end to cut the banner. So I'm going to come back to about there. That's hopefully far enough, but not too far. And now the part that I am not very good at is trying to cut a banner edge that is actually even. I can never get these quite right. We'll see how we go. That is also another reason why I wanted a reasonable amount of room at the end, so that I had room to adjust my not so great banner edge. So I think that will do, and then what I'm going to do, so that it's hopefully, and it's not quite even, but it'll be close enough, but it's going to bug me at the same time. So let's just see how we go. Normally I would use dies or a punch for this, but this particular size doesn't quite work. So I'm just going to move that back ever so slightly, make sure it's actually going to fit, and let's see if I've got that even vaguely reasonable. I think that's close enough. I'll just clean up the middle. Hopefully without messing it up. Alrighty, I think that will be okay. Let's just double check, bring this one back in. I reckon that will be close enough. And just make sure that's actually all going to fit. Make sure I haven't gone too far. No, I think we're good. Let's stick it down and see how we go. Just spread that one out a bit. Okay. Hey Dimity, how are you? I was actually just wondering if Restream and OBS were being a bit difficult and not showing comments properly, or if you just hadn't made it on yet. So I'm very glad you commented when you did. Alrighty, so that looks good enough. Let's just check that is all going to fit, and that goes, yep, that's all going to work. So we can stick this one down now. I didn't bother cutting the white piece the full length because it's not needed, because a lot of it's covered. Plus I actually wanted the very end to just be the black, so I just cut it long enough that I had plenty of room, and plenty of room to ensure that it would still have the white showing with the other panel over the top, no matter how many times I had to cut it back to get my banner working properly. And then we can stick this one down. Let's just line that up. And just when you stick this piece down, you just want to make sure you leave enough room on the left hand side to fit whatever embellishments you're going to use. And I'll bring that back ever so slightly. So that's plenty of room there. Alrighty, so that bit is done. Now we just need to, I'll move it out of the way for a sec, is to color this one. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Pool Party for the water. We don't need too much color, and you can use any of the images from the sheet with all the vase images for any of these designs. I have done versions with other ones as well, so just pick whatever you prefer and go with that, so you don't have to use the same ones that I have used. So strawberry slush lens here. So I'm not doing anything fancy with the colouring, just one colour for the flowers, one for the leaves. Keep it nice and simple, and most of them are, you've got a fairly small area to colour anyway, so just keep it simple. And granny apple green for the leaves. Actually, just add a little bit of light than the dark. It blends a bit better, particularly when your blends are starting to run out. My light granny apple green in particular is starting to run out a bit, so I find if I do light then dark then light, it's a bit easier to blend it in. There's still enough ink in it to keep going and keep using it. Just sometimes needs a little help. Alrighty then, need to add a little bit to these ones down the bottom, and that's about it for those ones. And then we just want to pop these up on dimensionals. So I'm using a mix of the large ones and the small ones for this, and I will probably cut up a few little pieces as well, particularly with these flowers and with all the little bits and pieces, the little leaves going everywhere. I find that I always want it all stuck down as much as possible, and there are some parts you're not going to try and get dimensionals on, but I find that trying to get some on some of the smaller bits, it does make a bit of a difference. Don't need too much for this one. I think I'm just going to pop a bit in the corner there, and that should be enough. Bring in this one. Get all the backings off. And just be careful with all the small pieces, or the small areas, once you've fussy cut. so that you don't bend them or accidentally tear them too much. All right, all that we need to do now is add our insert and then add some embellishments and get dimensional backings off the table. Down, bring this back over. All right, so I have used some of the iridescent pearls and also the 2025 to 27 in color pearls. You could also use the strawberry slush and pretty in pink gems. There's also the array of dots which have strawberry slush gems in them as well. So up to you. And I should have done the middle one first, just to make sure that, or to make it easier to get these spaced out a bit better. But let's just adjust that one slightly, and that'll be okay. And then the pearls, so I'm just using up some of my old pearls. So I'm just breaking off ones from, they're stuck together in a strip, so just using these ones up. Hi Renee, how are you? How's your week been? Alright, so just go with the 3 there, and that should do it. And there we go, that is the first one done. Nice and quick and easy. The longest part is probably fussy cutting the flowers, depending on which one you choose. Some are quicker than others, but you also don't have to cut them as detailed as that. You can also just go with a less fussy cut, if that makes sense. Alrighty, on to the second one, which is this one. So this is crisp cantaloupe for the base, and I've also used some of the Irresistible Design specialty paper, and I have embossed with the it's from the Fern and Flora bundle, and I've got some of the in color pearlized specialty paper as well as the tag for the sentiment and the fussy cut image. So let's put this one down. I do need ribbon for this one. So we want that to get there. Just cut get the tape for it. All right, Renee, although my car has died, unfortunately, so it's it's either get an entire new engine or get another car. So yeah, Nats, don't have a car. And looking at a very expensive fix or replacement either way. Alrighty, let's just straighten that up a bit. I think I've got, oh, I need, do I have enough to get, yes, I've got enough to get round. That will be fine. Cutting it fine, but it'll be fine. Can always add more tape on the other side. So we just want to go a bit up from the bottom, but not too far. I think that's perfect. Alrighty, and then we can stick this one down. Definitely want to add a little bit more adhesive with the embossed pieces, just so that you can get some bit more adhesive into all those little nooks and crannies, so that it sits a bit nicer on your cardstock and actually adheres properly. So let's just slide that down ever so slightly and press in particularly around the edges to make sure it's all going to stick nicely. Alrighty, let's move that out of the way so that we can do a little bit of ink blending. So just using some crisp cantaloupe. And just start off really light, build up the colour. And you can keep it super light, or you can go a bit darker, depending on your preference. I went a little bit darker for this one, just so that colour shows up well and doesn't look too pale. I wanted fairly noticeable. And it also helps the design to show through, just makes it pop a bit more. And you could also do a gradient look as well, so start from, keep it light at one end, work your way up to you. I think that's about enough. Just wondering what's, don't know how well you can see that, but not sure what's happened in there where that white is. Not a massive issue, but I'm more curious. But that's all right. You can always cover that sort of stuff with embellishments. And there's a little bit in there as well. And that one is probably going to be partly covered by the image. But hey, we'll make it work. And I think that will be enough. Let's get that off, and then we can adhere that to the adhere one specialty paper to another specialty paper. Down, and I added a bit too much adhesive at the bottom there. Let's try and let's clean that up a little bit. Where's my you do want to be careful with the specialty papers though. Some are easier than others to remove adhesive from, but always be gentle until you know how your adhesive remover is going to, or how your paper is going to behave with the adhesive remover. That will be fine. Alrighty. So we can now pop this one down, so that's going to go about, that's going there, so that's going to go about there. Yep. You could pop this one up on dimensionals if you wanted to. I'm keeping it flat because I'm going to pop the flower pot or vase image up, so rather than adding too much extra height, because you do also have the embossed cardstock, we will just do the one, although popping it up on dimensionals can be a good option on embossed cardstock, depending on the design, particularly if it's something that's not sticking too well to the embossed design, but it's fine. Alright, let's move that to the side for a minute. We'll do the sentiment, get that done. So I'm using Secret C for the ink for this one. And once I find, there it is. There we go. That over there, bring this one back in. So to color, I'm using Crisp Cantaloupe for the pot, and that one's dark, that one is the light, and then just Granny Apple Green for the leaves. And of course, if you're choosing one of the images with flowers rather than just the leaves. Just pick whatever color you like that you feel coordinates nicely. You could always do, if it's one of the sort of the ones with the water visible, you could use crisp cantaloupe for the flowers and then just the pool party for the water. Or something entirely different. And if you don't have granny apple green and crisp cantaloupe or any of the other colours that I've used, use what you do have. Alrighty, that is enough for that one. And then just the granny apple green. Is that the dark? Yes, that is the dark. And the light. I'm just going to do a bunch of the leaves with the dark first, and I probably should have done some light first just because the light is running out, but it's okay. My brush tip is probably not as bad as the bullet tip. It's probably got a bit more ink in it, so it should be fine. Alright, nearly there. Just add a little more to a few of these and blend them in. There we go. That'll do. Okay, bring this one back in and get some dimensionals for both of these. Now, where do my big ones go? I need a few for this one. And then we'll add a few big ones for this one and a few, cut up a bunch of pieces for this one. Just going to whack that entire bit down there rather than cutting it up into multiple pieces. And yes, I'm going with some very small pieces here, but I did find that it worked for this particular image, having some, particularly on those edges of the flower pot, did help. I wouldn't normally go super thin because it gets very difficult, but occasionally it is worth doing. I'm just going to try and mostly go with the slightly thicker parts as much as possible. And then we'll just try and get a little bit down there. That will be enough. I think that's going to be plenty. Just be careful when pulling all the pieces off. Just be careful not to try not to sort of bend your piece too much if you can, just because you've got lots of thin parts to it, and it's super easy to bend it and then tear it, and that one's just come off. So let's get that back on and pull off that dimensional backing that is trying to stay when it's not supposed to. I think that is just about all of them. Got that tiny little one there. They're all off. Alrighty, so I'm going over on the left, not the left, the right. And side there, press that down. Add all the sentiment. And then all that is left, we will add the insert and some embellishments. Okay, so for this one I have used the 26 to 28, the butterflies, and when I find them, I had them right here, also the dots, the 26 to 28 dots. Yeah, they are. Hiding. So just using a couple of the dots for the sentiment. And then we can add some of the butterflies, and I reckon we go one of the larger ones, although I'm wondering if I go a slightly different, let's try that. I was thinking maybe a different color, but let's just pop that one there, and we'll see how we go, and then a smaller one on the flower down there, and then let's see, anything else we need to cover up. I think it's all maybe over there. We can go with we'll stick with the same color for these ones, I think. And we've got one over there. And there we go. There is the second one done. Alrighty, on to the final card. Let's bring it back in briefly. So that is this one. So this one is Hydrangea Hue for the base. And I've used some of got some dies. These are the Beautifully Celebrated, I think, dies. Some of the paper die cut with the same dies. I've got a fussy cut image, a little die cut for the sentiment. So let's add, let me just rearrange everything. We will bring in, we need some ribbon. Oh, thank you, Dimity. Alrighty, so a little bit of the Hydrangea Hue ribbon. And a bit of tearing tape. That was a bit too short. Let's try that again, add a bit more to each end. Okay. That's better. And we'll wrap this around close to the bottom because those dies take up a decent chunk of space, and my tape is trying to come off. Let's wrap one side first and then do the other. Get it back on there. There we go. That is not quite as straight as I would have liked. I don't know if I can, not sure how well I can fix this, but probably not very. Let's see. Oops, forgot about that. That's a little bit better. All right. Get that down onto the card front. Going to spread out a couple of sections where it's a bit thicker than I would like, so we'll just spread that out with the tip. That's better. Right. And that one down. And then we can get this one down. So just adhere that one to the other die cut. Okay, so that is going down there. We'll go down, just make sure it's even side to side as much as possible. Alrighty, let's put that to the side for the moment, and we will stamp the sentiment. I'm going to use Secret C again for this one. And where is my little sentiment gone? It's a tiny little one. Here we go. Okay, put that to the side, bring this one back in. So for this one, granny apple green for the leaves, a little bit of pool party. Let's do that now. For the water. And then the flowers for this one, I am going with Berry Burst. Going to use the bullet tip for these, both the flowers and the leaves, and they're quite small, the flowers, so it can be a little tricky. Sometimes it can be tricky with some of these to work out where the flowers and leaves actually start and end. So just guess. Make an executive decision and decide where your flowers are going to start and finish. Doesn't matter if they're not where they're meant to start and finish, because it's your card. There's a little one up there as well. I think that is that it for the flowers? You could potentially argue that that one over the edge is a flower, could also be leaves. What do you reckon? Is that one a flower or leaves? And the same with that one. That one I'm saying is leaves. It's kind of tricky. I'm going to say this one is a flower because I can. And if it wasn't before, it is now. And I'm going to, it's a very small area. I'm just going to go with one colour. I'll go that one as leaves. why not? Alrighty, and I probably don't even need to do well, it's probably too difficult to do much in the way of layering of colours with this one because it's very small. So I'm just going to carefully add, I'm going to use the dark. There we go, that'll do. Alright. Then we just need to pop everything up. Now I did have, yes I do, I pulled out a new sheet of the big dimensionals because I knew I would run out. So let's just get some of the big ones on and then cut up some of the smaller pieces. Alrighty, I think we just pop let's put this one around, it's gonna sit in there, and I think I'll just add a bit in the middle there, and that should be enough. Or maybe a little bit up the top there, just because it's an extended bit and there's not much around it, so I think that will be plenty. Hi Debbie, how are you? We are just finishing off the third card. But you can always go back to the start and watch from the beginning. Alrighty, that is enough, I think. Put that one down. I do recommend for this particular design that you're that when you color this one, that you have like say for the flowers, that you use a fairly bright or dark sort of dark color or bright color, just so that it stands out a bit more, particularly depending on the exact piece of DSP and how much black is sort of immediately surrounding it. So you can see with this one there's less of the images around it, like less of the black, and then you've got the bright berry burst, so it does stand out a lot more. If your colors are a bit too pale. If you go with something quite light, it doesn't stand out as much, particularly if you've got, say with this one, you've got a lot more, happen to have a lot more of the black immediately surrounding your image. So all that is left is the insert and the sentiment. Thank you, Renee. I'm glad you like them. Alrighty, so embellishments for this one, I have used a mix again of, we've got 3 for this one. So we've got the brushed brass butterflies, the purple fine shimmer gems, and the iridescent pearls that I had up here just before, because we used them for the first card and now they are hiding. Thankfully I do have a few packets of those, but it would be there they are, hiding. So we'll start with these ones. So I'm just going to use a couple of the small berry burst ones for the sentiment. And then some of the butterflies for the center, and I want one of the little ones as well. And then a few of the iridescent pearls. I will continue pulling apart my very old string of pearls and use these up. Oops. If they decide to cooperate. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Alrighty. And that is our third one done. Alrighty, let me just bring everything back in. And where's the first one hiding? Come on, there we are. Move that one off to the side. Alrighty, so these are the 3 cards from tonight's class. So you have until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in, so $75 before shipping and after Stampin' Rewards. And I'll send you out the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards, as well as the PDF tutorial with all the measurements and instructions. Alrighty, so let me just change my camera around. Next week I am, what am I using next week? I need to go to my list. That's right, Boarded in Beauty. So that is another Stampin' Die bundle. So going back to the Stampin' Die bundles. So Boarded in Beauty is next week. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the projects. If you are watching on YouTube, if you like the projects and you want to see more of them and get the notifications for my lives and any other videos that I put up, remember to like and subscribe. And thank you again for joining me. Have a wonderful week. I will catch you next time. Till then, happy crafting. Bye.